This is the latest to it as well. The U.S. State Attorney District of Ohio's office now released pictures of a house that they say belongs to Abu Trica.
Yes, Abu for Abu Trica who asema obi anim no Abu Trica adodo nanim so yes kama Abu for ho nsem ne de ba besum no Abu for nsem eri ano adini ho Abu for adwin bo no ma odwene ya wonte empanyfo na se enso so wonum nim adwene eta echi wonum de yes a efize we as na gasa na anse no bibi no nim de de na ngina so say yes anse no ni freni beto ne bo no yes na wonim de yes Abu for before say Abu Trica nsensem e ba ye na papa Nana Addo apensu so be ante ho we ne me ati as yes ye o man panyini ne o man panyini yes abusuafo me ndi obi atema na me nya kasete bia wa ha abusuafo ene say eye emra ye papa Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo ete so no abusuafo eye omdi kind of ansensimi abai ma eye American for na say me kan US for in class enam de wonom de beye ye so me ye na nanom nkoa no ansa na ono no beti as yes obey this adu emu djuma ma no. Before that, I was say a year US from penny for and so by a my gun and also on by a African man, number Africa for in a day, Acho and Sana Omede, on be this I do a hujima, a moment to have a chichis, come as no more as here, or more GAM brofan and also more flooding brofan, edging on Sikana, edges on my bed, Abe Patch once. It was for a same way, dear, what you know, crown yes. If you say, as a quay be say, or my baby trio condemn, yes, or my dear baby, you and you may be and same fatal. So I youth now. I say, "Oh, my nyanza say, oh, my just can't be for you. Could you knew? Is there a man penny Mahamadi amount for Bonechipa? You more can handsome Bonnet and ass and get to a crab for whom you call him could see in Semika. Yes, I did. Yakaba baby did Chechimukaka has Baba some me couldn't put in some way. And this ya bye ye. Mama yan shagana fwa ya betamo me free had do a Mako US. Abusuafo MC Ishmael ni wa be hunu video we be a share efama me mon share na video we enkoto Ghana youth no na enche na me beka ase me ko social media break me no ka say me da so break nim nanso break nim na asem bi apa asem we na mpese me de ma no tum na me ka bi because me nim say me will break any kwan say nka me kasa share. Oya Ghana youth ahụ it's about time ese muma ye nyina ye de Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo po ekoma no Abu Trica ya ensensem ye ekoso yi ye nyina ye awo ese me no ka say empanyimfo atimi ahwe ama ye de Abu Trica akopie mu ewo US as say oni US apan ekohye ewo hono na Abu Trica nsem na ekoso ewo US no and a US omo attorney general aba abonten aba bekase oda NDC aban we ase pa esan se omatimi aboa ama yede Abu Trica aba se omra no mbe face charges ewo US nemom eye aban dada etwa mu no me kire MPP aban ana yewura Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo eye president de omo de na omo nso so sa aneoma no so se yede Ghana for youth ebe free hanom akọ na Nana Addo ejina ne tumi so ka se ansa na yede Ghana youth bi be free ya se yede na ku US na wakofesi charges ne romance scam ne honsensem no eji se US aban no apa yen abibifo chew Africa a Ghana kan ho chew esanse emre bi atwam omu US aban na brofo no de ye nananom be ye nkoa wo krum a enu nti se ne US for ese yenso ye nuanom bi ene omo ya ade enye omo fanti yemfo omo mra ansa na Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo be pena me de saa ye nuanom akonje se US aban na ba be pa eye Ghana for ena anase Africa chew hwe we na kire say ye wo panyimu ena ye wo panyimu Abu Trica case na ekoso no enye obi afenye obi adese ye di Abu Trica beko na yakwa punish no anase say muma ye mbusa ye ho se ye ti krom ha
ama yesi obi ye Russian guy you say hwan aba be fa ye nuanom Ghana fo ma obefa omu wie ye no wasan aye videos e de aka ho edien na aban wei aye wura Mahama de animu as president na yawo attorney general Dominic Akuro-Tinge ayene minister for communication ne nkofo de no moye fa asa nipa no Russian guy de no moye fa no yeti kromwa enyoma bebre na akoso uye youth na once san wa adwene e wa aban we ho a ene NDC aban ba ye moma yenhwe Ghana fo a ya betam o ma free hade o mako US the lives of Dada Joe ene yesi Lancaster o se La Bianca o se hwan ena mo so de himpo Kofi boat money ene ye de Park Academy CEO nyesa aha ena yesa de yi nso kwanne Abu Trica tinia sankofo we mu nyina MPP abreso na Nana Addo betimi ahwa me edo mako Nana Addo oye panyimu a woda odwene ne manfo ho bisi mi wo break mi wo social media break but asem ne eye me ya enu ntina maba be ka bie eye me ya mehwe the way atete ya ye de Abu Trica afamu a mehwe ate na odasani timi ebody trimu pobe grant interview ema Abu Trica eba be kasa radi nyankopon but eto da bia ho youth no to da bia mom yenka no kranche eto da bia youth no mo so mo ka ho mo ka ho it's sad on share video we na nkoto Ghana YouTube especially Game Boys no mom yenfa ase da kase nkoma na Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo ne MPP aban na mimi nim se de ekoso ne no edi pefe se Yewura Mahama ne NDC aban mbeko fie na we na mo pretete mo no enzi na mo ba ye first yi mo hwe Ghana for youth ya extradite mo do mo ko mo ye Ghana for youth na mo yam pretete mo mamo ambofo how mo ba ye we impo no kura mati kokofo sika so de about 2005 then ye mo ko tete mo de ne kokofo de ye hu sika mo de be mo okroma ene me no ka say petrol yentimi nto petrol na me mesi me social media break na me nhira on share video.
This is the latest to it as well. The US State Attorney District of Ohio's office now released pictures of a house that they say belongs to Abu Trica. This is it. And then these fleet of cars as well that they attach to the press release that they say based on their investigations belong to Abu Trica. The cyber trucks you see there and so on. And so when we saw this, we sought to find out whether indeed this picture corresponds with any detail in the press release. And as a matter of fact, what we found is that it does. And this is what they put out. 31-year-old Ghanaian national was extradited from the Republic of Ghana to face charges that involve defrauding more than 80 elderly victims out of more than $8 million, according to court documents. Frederick Kumi, also known as Emmanuel Kojo Obeng, also known as Abu Trica or Swedru Ghana, and co-defendant Daniel Yusuf, also known as Denteni, aka Slap 31 of Accra, Ghana, were part of a criminal network that targeted elderly victims in romance camps across the United States since 2023. Kumi was arrested in Ghana December 11, 2025, extradited to the United States July 9. Court records allege that from about April 2023 to November 2025, Kumi was part of a criminal network that devised romance fraud schemes to obtain money from elderly United States citizens. Kumi and Yusuf acted as leaders of a group that used online dating sites and social media to identify and target their victims, who were often widows and divorcees. Kumi employed advanced techniques, including AI-driven video platforms, to engage with the victims under fictitious female personas. Others involved in the deception leveraged Ghanaian associates, the false identities used to facilitate the fraud. After being misled by false stories or gold or diamond inheritances, the victims sent money via wire transfer to financial accounts controlled by conspiracy members. Portions of the funds were further provided to co-conspirators in Ghana and elsewhere. Kumi and other co-conspirators used money moles based in Ghana and contacts in the Ghanaian immigration community in the United States. So this is another development we're hearing, that there are some contacts, that's Ghanaian immigrants, there's a Ghanaian immigrant community contacts in the United States were actually also identified in the course of the investigation to launder millions of dollars through fake business and bank accounts. So that's another further detail we're getting. Kumi allegedly used his ill-gotten gains to acquire luxury vehicles and other items of value. Assets that have been seized by international law enforcement partners included a mansion in Ghana. So the picture I just showed to you is what they have captured in the statement. This said mansion in Ghana, a Lamborghini, Tesla Cybertruck, Mercedes-Benz, and BMW. Kumi has been charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering conspiracy. Additionally, his ill-gotten gains are subject to forfeiture, faces up to 20 years imprisonment. And so, if convicted, each defendant's sentence will be determined by the court after a review of factors unique to the case, including each defendant's prior criminal record, if any, his role in the offense, and the characteristics of the said violation. In all cases, sentences will not exceed the statutory maximum, and in most cases, it will be less than the maximum. So that is the ratio that this case is going to play in. That in all of this, it will not exceed the statutory maximum, they say 20 years, and in most cases, it will be less than the maximum. So they're giving us a pointer as to how the coming days will be like, if only he is eventually found guilty of the said crimes he's been alleged to have been involved in. Richard Akufo-Addo is a former operative of the Bureau of National Investigations, BNI, our own equivalent of the FBI. Thank you, Mr. Akufo-Addo, for joining us. When this case began, we've been traveling with you every step of the way. Now, this is the latest from the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Ohio, the latest on Abu Trica after his extradition. Some detailing there. How does this strike you?
At all. These are all details of the conclusive aspects of the investigation. And to the extent that they've set up a date to start the trial, it is important that Attorney General educate the public within the jurisdiction where he operates, so that the victims can have some level of assurance that some level of investigations have been done, and they will be hopeful that convictions will be made, particularly when they have the ability to forfeit their asset and maybe sell them and use the money to pay back those who have been defrauded. And so he in particular, I think his lifestyle and the pattern and the trend of what he has done when he started receiving the money, where some of the traces, the CIA and the State Department officers who followed to Ghana were able to acquire it. And the investigators in Ghana also play a key role in accumulating many of these investigations and put it up together as an evidence against him.
I see. But then again, there's another matter as well that is playing out as we're seeing now, that, I mean, the details they're giving in this statement as to how all of this played out. The fact that there were some contacts in the Ghanaian immigrant community in the United States. So this paints a picture of a web of persons in and outside of the United States allegedly involved in this enterprise, is it not?
Definitely, yes. I used to be the consultant for the Compliance Association of Ghana. When the Financial Intelligence was set up in 2008, they've given us the platform, and I play a key role when it comes to financial crime prevention, money laundering, identification, and cyber crime broadly. One of the methodologies many of these guys in the business of money laundering uses is to bribe their way as many times as possible, and to bribe all manner of persons they feel could help them or may stand in their way. And to the extent that they are Ghanaians predominantly in this particular 8 million, plus other amounts that might be coming up, in the course of the trial, they used the Ghana community across Europe and across America, Canada, and the US, who have some other businesses that might not be linking directly to their official position as police officers or immigration officers. And when you track the trend and you look at the purposeful nature of what they have done in terms of the trend analysis, transaction monitoring, and the patterns of what has happened over the years, you could see the trace from one person to the other. And I wasn't surprised that the investigators were able to crack the whip and they unravel many of our guys in the US who knowingly or unknowingly has been roped into this particular crime, and they might have taken their share. And so they have an accountability regime and there's a responsibility for them to answer. Then when it comes to money laundering in particular, there are a group of people who play active role and there are a certain group of people who play passive role. It is left for the prosecutors to decide who will be brought forward and what role have you played and what has been your level of involvement. So we might be seeing only Abu Trica and a few names they have mentioned standing trial, but all other persons behind the scene could have some level of punishment that may not come into the public space.
And Mr. Akufo-Addo, appreciate you for this. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. And in fact, the coming days is one to watch as well, taking into consideration what the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Ohio has just released regarding Abu Trica and this.
Yes, Abu Trica, baby, or could you know something in US? And Poyazin and some of which is any of the Kwakucha a prison out of because a prison of a prison for 20 years. For as a media, this what you know on TSA. Now, what TSA is also 1 million homes and a vision for a tier. Let's also send any cameras also subscribe to my channel. You know, I like maybe comment and so out to comment section. Hey, I'm High Daily Cross TV. Mimo Bibia. Bye bye.